Coming live from Setsoto Stadium in Maseru, Lesotho. As you are aware that today it is inauguration of the Prime Minister of Lesotho, Sam Matekane. But with me I have my colleague Rapelang Khatebe, who has covered the elections but very familiar with politics in Lesotho. Rapelang, a culmination of a very important event, the inauguration of a new Prime Minister. Take us through the journey until where we are today, and perhaps Basotho deciding to settle for a businessman rather than a politician.
Indeed, it has been a tumult. It's been a challenging times, I think, for Basotho. They have gone through multiple elections, instability, the killing of high-ranking officials. But I think Basotho decided that maybe we should test something that has not been done before. If a party was started in less than 8 months ago, and Basotho have so much supported him to an extent that he is now the Prime Minister, it means they wanted some change. They wanted something that has not been done before. Because you remember what they say, you keep doing the same thing all the time and you can't get different results. So I think it was upon them to say, look, we have seen politicians, we have seen how they operate, but we think we need a decisive. I probably think Lesotho will be running more like a company with a CEO, somebody who gives instructions and is interested in the results and nothing else.
We saw the United States of America doing this with Donald Trump. We saw Zambia doing it with Heshelema because he's quite rich, the president of Zambia, a businessman. Even though with Heshelema, he's got political experience because he has been in politics. Don't you think along the way Lesotho will go the same route as the United States of America, where you are saying a businessman now is struggling to keep up with politics, not only the national politics, the continental politics, but also the global politics?
I think the fact that if you look at it, it's Basotho who were pushing the events. They are the ones who made the decision. With the Americans, I think it was more of a calculated move supported by the business ultimately to put one of their own. But I think this emanates from the grassroots, from Basotho themselves. So if they make a wrong decision by what they have decided, they can only blame themselves because they are the ones who said, we want to try him out. We never thought for a minute that we would have one party almost taking the government on their own. But you can see that they gave him a mandate. He was just short of a few seats for him to rule alone. So it's an overwhelming mandate that comes from Basotho themselves. So I think the circumstances are slightly different between the Americans and us. We can only blame ourselves as Basotho if we made a wrong decision.
Let's talk about what he has done since he won the elections, even though he didn't get the outright majority. What has he done? I mean, we saw people cleaning the streets, but also we are told the inauguration itself, he paid because he feels Basotho must not pay for something that they can't afford.
Look, if you go back from where he comes from, which is Ntsokoane, the type of infrastructure that you find there, what he has done for his local community, building police station, a state-of-the-art school, a hospital, you can tell that from himself. He said, I want to effect change from where I come from. And he said, let me extend this so that Basotho can see how it is done, what I'm capable of doing. Now, the airport was dilapidated. The road from the airport to town was dilapidated completely. And Basotho took upon themselves and said, let's find a way to fix the potholes. Let's find a way to light up the airport such that when the visitors come, at least it looks as decent. So I think he's have that mandate of saying, let's do practical things, low-hanging fruits.
Let's talk about the reforms. President Cyril Ramaphosa will be arriving soon as the facilitator of the Lesotho talks. Take us through how far did he achieve something as the facilitator?
It's been a long trip. I remember one day asking President Ramaphosa saying, can you count the number of times you have come to Lesotho? Is it a holiday or you hope to achieve something? And he ultimately says, look, buying peace, making sure that peace comes from Basotho, not from us dictating what they should think. It is how long it has taken. The reforms alone, you can see that just almost at the end of the 10th Parliament, the reforms were about to be passed. but also the tolerance of SADC, that they understood the circumstances. And they said, we are still willing that even after the elections, we will put our foot on the ground, work with Basotho, such that the reforms don't seem like they come from SADC, but it's an initiative of Basotho themselves. I think that has to be congratulated from SADC's perspective.
The security cluster has been very notorious, particularly the military, the army, in staging the coups. Do you think those reforms have assisted to ensure that the army or the security cluster in general, they understand their role is to protect the country and Basotho, not individuals?
Absolutely. If you look at the conduct of our local military in here, how they have conducted themselves, staying in the barracks, but worst of all, finding that they actually go an extra mile to go and help Basotho when there are crises. You know, the snow is a big thing in here. We've had a bit of challenges from the police side because the number of killings that happens within their hand. But I think there was a loud message even from Basotho to say to them, guys, stay on your lane.
As a journalist from South Africa, I will commit a big mistake if I don't ask you the relations between Lesotho and South Africa. Looking at the issue of the Zamazamas, Basotho are allegedly involved in the crime or committing crimes in mines. Do you think he's up to the task to address this issue of Basotho who are in South Africa without permission and also allegedly committing crime? Do you think you'll be able to address the Zama issue?
Fortunately, I actually asked him the same question, and he said, you know, unless we address the issue of unemployment, we will have these problems, not only for us, even for South Africans, because some of these are highly skilled people who worked and know the South African mines inside out. But he said, we have mines, fortunately, in Lesotho, and he said, if we find a way that these people are busy and are working, that will immediately force them to come back home and at least use the skills to feed their families. A hungry stomach is very troublesome. So he said, let's try and find a way that we utilize their skills, bring them in. It's easy to eradicate this unlawlessness they are in.
Thank you for your time. That was Rapelang Katebe, our colleague here in Lesotho. You know him very well. Lots and lots of country represented here. I can mention Botswana, President Masisi is here. His predecessor, Ian Khama, is here. I can speak about the Namibian President, Hage Gop, and we are told that the SADC Troika is going to have a meeting at the palace. And of course, the guest of honor or the main speech will be delivered not by the Prime Minister as a head of government, but by the King, Letsie Laboraro, as the head of state. And President Ramaphosa will be arriving very soon. Back to you in studio.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll continue bringing you live coverage of that inauguration of the new Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Lesotho. So stay with us throughout the day. That there is our very own Sophie Mokoena, who is our international news editor, speaking to us live from Maseru.